the only way I can think to condense this into a title of any sort is just the question of, like, what am I doing? Because I probably ask myself that the most throughout the day, not just like what's in front of me, the task, but in life, especially this year, especially right now. And I could bore you with a really long video, which I probably will anyway, because I talk a lot, but I'm going to try to like compartmentalize some of this and put it into separate videos as I process them. But the question of today's what am I doing is in relation to competing. I just sent in my contract yesterday for the Rising Phoenix. And that is going to be the highest, absolutely most intimidating show that I've ever done. And here's why. It's because of the not just the tier of the show level that it is. Like there's the Olympia, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. I've done tiers 2, 3, and 4 before, but never a tier 1. And it's kind of on par with the Arnold. In fact, I could be wrong about this, but I used to think this show was just invite only, but for whatever reason this year it's not. And due to the circumstances of what happened at the Chicago Pro, it's funny because when I was on stage at that show, as things were unfolding, first of all, I'm super petite. I don't know why people think I'm a giant. I wish I was. I'm 5'2.5", and I have a small frame, and I know that. And when I stand up next to other competitors, there's just such a stark difference to me in our size that, of course, my first thought was like, I think at that show, I ended up getting 4th call-outs. There were 47 really good competitors, and I know if I were basing it off of call-outs, I think I got at least in the front half, which to me wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I can also look at that and say, like, I knew a few days before, I just didn't want to admit it with myself, but I was extremely stressed on all levels, and then I know better, but I also tried to outwork stress, which doesn't work. So I actually knew a few days before the show that I didn't think I was going to hit my mark of where my potential was. I knew I had improved from the year before, from 2019 Toronto Pro. I knew I had improved my physique, but it just wasn't, something was just off. And I'm going to chalk a lot of that up to the things that were going on at that point in my life, on top of other factors. And so even while I was on stage, the way that the call outs were going, like I felt like my posing was on point. I had a really good time. I really enjoyed myself at that show, and I felt very polished. And I was still proud of what I brought. It just, I don't know, I'm a perfectionist and I have really high standards for myself. And the show experience was great. It served me really well because it kept me grounded and it pulled me forward while my life was falling apart, which aren't my usual reasons for competing, but I did it. And then, like, while I was on stage, when first and second call outs went by, and then third call outs, I was like, okay, Autumn, like, you're probably gonna have to take a year off to build, because I assumed that it was I assumed the reasons that I wasn't placing well at that show was what I thought I already knew. But then in retrospect, when I look back at the pictures, and then after getting my feedback from the judges, I can agree that I wasn't as conditioned as I needed to be at that point in time. And so even that weekend, I was like, okay, I did a show, great. Good job, Autumn, for getting up there. But a few days later, I just had this weight, like this feeling of, it started to kind of turn into anger. And I wasn't angry at anybody. It was just like, I'm not done yet. And I knew I still had more in me, and I knew I wasn't at my 100%. And if I can bring 100% of my best at that current point in time, and then I place a certain way, I can accept that and I can use that. But what was eating me was, I was like, that's not what I meant to bring. And that's not what I work. I mean, I worked. I just, there were just some things combative against me. And so, life, I mean, not like sabotage. So just, yeah, there's just a lot going on. So anyway, I was like, I need to see my 100%. And I called some people that I really trust and who I really respect and I really value their opinions. And I discussed these ideas and I was like, I'm going to keep going. The only trouble was that there aren't that many pro figure shows left for 2020. And so I had, there were only 2 left that were an option for me. And one was in Romania, which wasn't really an option for me. And then the last shot of the year that I can compete in an open figure pro is the Rising Phoenix, which is next weekend. And so I was like, yeah, it's a tier 1, it's intimidating, and that's my only opportunity, so I'm going to work it. And I wasn't really sure then what I was going to do or if I was going to get where I needed to be, so I just focused on the work. And that's why, like, I have a hard time answering people when they ask me. I know what they're asking. I don't mean it to be like a negative thing, but they'll say like, well, what show's next? What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what show is next. I've done this for 18 years. I'm getting close to like 30 shows in my lifetime, and I'm just really exhausted of, if you've followed me for the last couple of years, you know I've put myself out there, and you know that I've announced, and I've probably overshared. And it's like, for the first time ever, I'm just very conservative in my energy. I just don't have the energy to keep up with explaining and announcing, and I don't feel like talking because I can hardly put my energy into my actions, and so that's where my energy goes. And so, like, I don't mean for it to be rude or like ignore these questions. I just kind of don't feel like talking about it anymore, except on days like today. Today's probably the first day where I was like, not only can I talk about this today, I feel like I should, because I'm very fortunate to have a lot of support and encouragement, and I want to keep my people filled in, because I need that too. And it changes things when people are aware that I'm in prep, instead of me like silently suffering, which I have been doing. And I can't expect people to know if I don't tell them. So I feel like part of me is like, oh, I should tell people I'm competing. But then the other part of me is like, I just don't feel like it, man. Whatever happens, happens. If you see me on stage, I competed. If you don't see me on stage, who knows what I'm doing? Probably just same focus. So yeah, today I felt like talking about it. Because it's scary, it's intimidating, and it's just nuts. Like, I also found out a few weeks ago that I'm going to expedite the Olympia again, like I did last year, which to me is like an insane opportunity. Of course I'm going to do it if I get asked. And so that only came to my attention a couple weeks ago. So I went from in October being like, oh, I'm done for the year, to no, I haven't finished business, and I still can keep going. I want to see my 100%. I want to feel like I have closure with my year to come in at my best at this point in time. So I was going to originally go compete in Vegas at the Rising Phoenix the first week of December, come home and pack my bags in Louisville, Kentucky, and kiss my boyfriend for a few days, and then fly back out to Vegas to go expedite the Olympia for 8 days, and then come home for Christmas. And I had everything squared away travel-wise. I was like, oh, I don't even have to think about it. I'll just book these trips. And then just a few days ago, the promoters somehow pulled some magic tricks to ensure that we could still compete as the athletes in the show. And so, like, with all the COVID, corona stuff going on in Vegas, the promoters moved the shows, which to me is just mind-blowing that they can do that they were able to pull that off. And so now what's happening is I'll fly out to Phoenix, Arizona to compete in my show, because that got moved from Vegas to Arizona. Then come home and kiss on my boyfriend for a few days. Then I'll fly to Orlando to expedite the Olympia for 8 days and then come home for Christmas. So yeah, that's been like a really crazy like some shifty business, and I've stayed adaptable and chill about it. It's just like, those are other reasons why I don't talk a lot about competing, because I have no idea what's going on from day to day. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what. There's just a lot of questions that come when people say, "Oh, what show are you doing?" And it's like, there's just a lot. It's a lot for me right now, because I just can't. I don't have the capacity that I normally do. This year has wrecked me, and it's robbed me of a lot. And so just for me to even be where I'm at right now, it's like I have to be very aware of how I'm expending myself. And so that's what I told myself this time. I said, after the Chicago Pro, I was like, yeah, I don't know if some of you guys know, like, my second business is being an artist, and I get a lot of Christmas commissions. And this year I had to cut it off, and that's kind of scary too, because, you know, it's a business, it's money, it's my income, and I really enjoy doing it, but I had to say no. And so, like, I had to close off art commissions that I usually do for Christmas this year and not work on art. And I've had to take on like no other projects and nothing. Just be an athlete, just be a coach, try to be a good person and a good friend on top of that. You know, it's like, those are my goals right now. But it's very hard, and I don't know. I'm gonna do this show for different reasons than usual. I don't even expect a place. If I show up better than I was in Chicago and I get dead last, I am happy about that. But who knows? Who knows what can happen? Nobody knows what can happen until it happens. And so I'm gonna keep working for the next 7 days to finish my business with myself and do this for me. And then I'm going to enjoy it, capping it off with the Olympia. So that's how this is turning out. That's where I'm at right now. So yeah, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Most days I just feel so depleted and so like just exhausted on a lot of levels, but it's fun. It's worth it. I'm seeing my body change in ways that I've never seen it change before, and it's absolutely worth it. But yeah, I just kind of feel like I feel like I should have said that probably a long time ago. I don't know. Like I said, sometimes I don't feel like talking about it. But I do like to keep people filled in, because I just hope it motivates somebody or like inspires somebody along the way. So yeah, that's what's up. I'll be on stage in a week.